Hey guys, welcome back. Well, today we're fitting a 4-link into old Red back here over my shoulder, the 427 68 Mustang Fastback. So he's decided to go with a 4-link. Really, the leaf springs that were in it weren't going to cut it. So yeah, we've got a Heidts kit. This is not the whole kit, but it's it's all the bracketry that goes with it. It's all very nicely put together. I've done a lot of Heidts kits, this same kit, and personally I think it's a great option for your typical street car. It's not a race car 4-link suspension. It does have unequal length arms. The top arms are shorter than the lower arms. So yeah, it's not strictly a race bred 4-link, but it fits simply and efficiently into the back of the Mustang, and you don't have to go into your rear seat area, which is quite important to a lot of fastback owners. They don't want to delete the rear seat, that kind of thing. So it's perfect for that application where you're really wanting a relatively stock look. You want to keep your back seat, and yeah, but you want that, that you want to get rid of the axle hop that you traditionally get with leaf springs, and you want that positive. You don't get that side-to-side sway that you get with a leaf spring. So this is a great kit for that. It's pretty effective cost-wise, and it's great to fit. It's a simple fit. This is something you can do yourself, in your home garage, as long as you got a decent welder. You'll be good to go. But there's a bunch of brackets. We got brackets here for the axles that welds to the housing. Your 4-link bars go off here. That's your panhard bar bracket. You've got these brackets, which that'll be the first thing that goes in. These go up into the old leaf spring pockets, which that may not make a lot of sense to look at it now, but once you see it going up in the car, it will become clear. These brackets, that's your panhard bar mount. That's for the other side. These slide up over the chassis rails and bolt through. It is a bolt-in kit to the chassis. You do need to weld, obviously, these brackets to the axle housing. Typically, I will weld these, bolt them and weld them. I'm not, the bolts have a habit of kind of working. They will work and move a little bit. So I get them bolted in and also run them weld as well. I mean, once these go in, there's no reason to ever take them out again. I guess if you wanted to return to stock and go back to leaf springs, you would want to take them out, but really, why would you do that? So I weld them in a little bit as well, just to kind of double the effectiveness of the bolt-in system. But if you want to just bolt them in and you want to be able to return it to stock, just bolt them in. All right, so I'm going to start getting, these are the pockets. I've got to get a little bit of paint on them because these go up and will never, they'll be up underneath the floor pan. So we need to get some paint on them first before we bolt them in, because once they're in, they're in. So I'm going to do that, and I will come back once I got a bit of paint on them, and we're getting them up into the back of this car. So back in a second. So here we are. All the old suspension's gone. Leaf springs are gone, which unfortunately wouldn't fit the Falcon, but they're the right size. But yeah, so I've got some spare leaves if you want any. This is going to go up in there, which is a matter of just sliding it up. This is where the old leaf spring bolted in right here. This just goes up into there, and they supply you all the bolts you need. There's a neat little blister pack of every bolt that you could possibly need, and that may quite want to go in. I might need a little adjusting tool. One adjusting tool. That's that in there. Now that just bolts up there. The next step is to actually get this pushed up into here. It bolts in through that way, through the floor, like straight up into the floor pan, and then bolts in here 2 ways through here. But you've got to get it pushed as hard up into there as you can get it before you bolt it that way. So let's get a jack and get that up in there. Just give that a little help as well. You get a drift. So just up here there's a seat belt mount, factory seat belt mount, and that's just kind of hindering our it's sitting as nice as I'd like it to, so we're just going to see if we can't unfortunately they've welded the bracket in slightly on an angle, and it's just reduced our space here, and it won't sit in there quite like it should. It's a bit frustrating. We're going to have to grind a little bit off. Now that's not an issue with the kit, that's just variances in the build. So yeah, it's I'll try and get up there so you can see it. Just here, this plate is just sitting underneath the edge of this bracket here, so it's just stopping it moving up about 1/4 of an inch. So we're just going to trim a fraction off the side of that and we'll be good. All right, a little tiny nick off there, just the thickness of a cut-off wheel. That's slid up there, up and nice and high. It's hard onto the floor now, so yeah, time to drill some holes and get this thing installed. Grab the drill. Yeah. What I think I'll do is put this onto like super slow-mo, or fast mode I should say, and yeah, that'll be a little less boring for you. Right, so that's all bolted in tight now. What I will do in a little while before we finish up is run a few welds around these edges just to connect that direct to the chassis, just to give it a bit of extra strength in this area. You know, just a few spots around. That plate you saw me putting in on the back side, we'll run some welds around there. So yeah, that's basically one side of the forelink done. Of the forward brackets anyway. That's your forelink bar. That just goes in there like so, and then you got another mount up here. That's your top forelink bar mount. And yeah, once you get all that finished up, then we've got some brackets to go up here, which is kind of off camera. But we'll get the other side in, we'll drop it down, and we'll do the brackets up, which take the panhard bar and stuff like that. So back in a second. So we've got both sides of the forelink mounts bolted in. Still got to do a little bit of welding on those, but we'll get to that later. Right now I want to get these mounts put in. Now this is, on the other side is the mount for the panhard bar, and on this side it also includes the mount for the bar that goes across here, goes across the car, and mounts your coilover shocks onto. That gives you your mounting point there. So we've got to get that up here, and it basically just slides up over the rail as close as you can kind of get it. Typically it goes right up against this or close to it, and then there's a measurement to actually say, hey, it's So you get that up and forward. That's as far as that wants to go. Right now, and it has to be, the measurement they give you is from this back edge to this, you might be able to see, but back up here is where the relief spring mount went through, the shackle went through. So we've got to measure from there, the middle of that to there, and that's 15 3/4. So we're a little light. We need 16 3/8. So we're looking at 5/8 of an inch that it won't go forward. You know, it won't go any further forward than this mount. Now, part of the reason for that is these mounts, they were not terribly accurate wherever they were when they welded them in. They weren't like a jigged part when they went in. And I've had them before where one side, this might be the same, where this side's a bit further back than the other side, and you've got to trim and mess around to make it fit. So this one won't go far enough forward. We've either got to take a little bit out of the plate or a little bit out of this mount. So I might just trim this mount back a little bit. This is, you know, this won't actually be used at the end of it. This will no longer be the bump stop. The bump stops will be included in the coilovers. So we can afford to lose some off this. It's not like we're going to compromise the bump stops, because this rubber will be getting like just pulled out and deleted, because the bump stops, as I say, will be in the inside, internally in the coilover. So yeah, let me grab the cut-off wheel and we'll start trimming a little bit. But yeah, we need about 5/8 of an inch. So let's get at it. Okay, so I should be audible again now. We've gone back to normal speed. So yeah, that little bit of a trim just in there was enough. That's given us exactly the 16 3/8, which gives us clearance. This bracket up here, you know, some box section steel goes across here and makes the mounts for the coilovers. So now it's a matter of drilling these out, bolting them. Same on the other side, you know, rinse and repeat. Same on the other side, and then we can put the crossbar on. And if we sneak over to this side, you can try not to trip over anything. This is the obviously the bracket for the other side with the panhard bar mount on it. So that's where that goes. That stops your rear axle going side to side. So I've got to get this measured up and pushed up a bit higher and bolted in. It is very important to make sure these brackets are all the way up and touching the rail. It needs that support on the bottom side of the rail, so push that hard up onto the rail and drill it, bolt it, away you go. And then it'll be on to welding the brackets on the rear axle, which will be another section of the video. So I'm going to get that drilled and bolted up and keep going. Back in a sec. Right, been busy. Got all this all sort of stitched welded in. A little weld here. We've got just a few, like couple of inch strips just welded. Just in a, I don't know, 6 or 8 or 10 spots. Just to really tie it all together. So, and then got it primed and painted. So that's ready. That's the four-link section of it's basically done. We're ready to move to the axle housing, with the exception of this little bar. This is the bar that fits up into here, these two brackets that went either side, and this is what your coilovers attached to. So you've got slotted holes in the bracket, so you can kind of just try and even those up side to side. You don't want it all one way, but that's pretty even. And then, yeah, they gave us a bunch of bolts in the blister pack. That one went in. And that's it. Yeah, obviously got to put the nuts, the bolts on, the nuts on, and yeah, the body side of the forelink is done. Enough room to get the nut on. They're all good quality fasteners, all Nylox and plenty big enough. And that's it. So now it's time to get the rear axle housing. We've got to cut the customer ordered it for leaf springs, so it's got the leaf spring platforms on. We've got to get rid of them, and we've got to weld the forelink brackets on it. So let's go and do that. All right, here we are with the axle housing. Now, first things first, we've got it upside down because the mounting brackets weld on the bottom. So rather than trying to get them lined up while they're hanging, it's much easier to just put the axle housing upside down and get these attached. Just have to make a mental note that it's upside down when you're figuring out your angles and stuff, that kind of thing. Now, this is all bared back because unfortunately it came with these spring perches already welded on. So we had to tear up the lovely powder coat on here, but that's just the way it goes. So the first thing you got to do is get the differential on the angle you want. Now, with the Heidts set up, the pinion, which is normally here, and remember it's upside down, has to point down, which is in this situation is up by 2 degrees. All right, so then it's just a matter of using an angle finder gauge. Just put it across here and get your angle set. What I'm going to do is I want the brackets to be vertical, like 0, and for this to be basically 2 degrees back at the top, or with the nose of the pinion down, and again it's up because the axle's upside down. So I'll just have to turn that my way so I can see it. Oops. Yeah, right, so that's 2 degrees backwards or down. All right, so now we're going to pop these on here. Obviously these go to the front, your forelink bars go here up to the body, and then we can just use that face. You can either put it on that face or on the back face of the bracket, and you want that to be at 0, so it's like straight up and down. So we're just going to kind of approximate it there, because the other part of the equation we've got to do is get these the right distance apart, which they give you a measurement for that. So we're just going to lean that lat because it wants to roll, wants to slide off. So that's right on 0 there. It should be 0 on the back side as well, which it is. So yeah, right, I have to get this other bracket. Okay, you do end up fighting that a little bit, where they want to drop off all the time. Sometimes a little bit of tape, something like that. I'll just put that there for now. Now a measurement across on a centre to centre is 43¼ inches. I'm going to double check that. 43 and a quarter. So what you do is kind of get it approximated around your 43. It's just a nudge under 43. And what you have to do is, not only do they need to be the right width apart, they need to be the same distance in from the end of the axle housing, so the axle's not all one way. So it's a little bit of trial and error. Just pick a point to measure to. And we'll set it at 4 inches, because that's just a nice round number. Easy one to do the math on. We'll set that at 4 inches. We'll see what we got. Now, instead of trying to guesstimate the middle, the other way you can do it really accurately is to measure to the outside of the bracket to the inside of the bracket. That's the same as it being in the middle. You just move it that way, and then you've got nice defined lines that you can measure to. Yeah, okay. So we need about another 1/8 of an inch there. That's pretty close. You know, I'm lining it up with the old leaf spring mounts, which is, you know, where it needed to be. So I've got some little markers here that are giving me an idea. I'm not that good. I'm kind of cheating because there's some marks here from the old mounts, and they go in the same place as the leaf mounts did. So we're really close there. So we just need like a 1/16. And that should do it. So I'm just going to grab a Sharpie and we'll be right back. Right, got the trusty Sharpie. These are exactly the right distance apart. We're like 3 15/16 from the flange, and that gives us the 43 3/8 across there. So what I'm going to do is just Sharpie around here to give us an easy reference point, so we can play around with the angle and not have to keep constantly remeasuring. This is a little fiddly, you know, getting this, but once you're there, very quick to burn them on. So now I can kind of rotate these without losing my distance. So now I always do lots of double checking. So I'm going to check the housing's still where I want it. It's just moved a little bit. Just you know, you just need to bump it slightly or do something, and it doesn't take much at all, and they move. So just paste and check and recheck. And so that's 2 degrees with the nose down. And that's your 0. So what I'm going to do is put a little reference mark here, just sideways, that clocks it. So then when I'm getting ready to weld, if this moves a little bit, I can just put it back to where I had it. And so it's that one. And before I pull the trigger on the welder, I'll check it again, because once these are welded on, that's a lot of work to get them back off if they're in the wrong place. So you really want to be like 110% sure that they are. Absolutely as nuts on as you can get them. That one wants to move, so we just let that roll back. And whoop, there goes the blasting. Right, we get this welder fired up. Yeah, do. Gotcha. We'll put on ground. The bracket's nice and clean metal, so it's a good ground for us. Check Sharpie marks. That's lined up. Give that one last check. That's that. That should be +2, which it is. So we are ready to go. That's all you need to start with, just one tack. These fit around here quite nice, the way they've cut that in there. It's designed for the 3-inch tube, so it's a nice fit around there. It just makes life easy, you know. So do that one. We'll do another tack on this side, and then we'll check again. We'll check that this is still where we left it. We didn't kick it or do something stupid. We'll get our marks lined up. It should be, it's right on the 0. There you go. Theory, it should be in the right place. So yep, it's right where you want it. Check the face edge as well. That's where you want it. That's where you want it. And that's where you want it. So that is exactly right. Let's just check our cross measurement. I'm not going to slide around there because it's got a little bit of a tack on it. 43 3/8. We're good to go. Time to start burning it in. Now I'll burn in probably 1.5 inches or so, to 1.5 inches at a time on each side, and rotate it around, let it cool off a bit. Because you're welding predominantly on one side of the housing from there to there, you don't want to get it too hot here and have it shrink and then you know, tweak the wheel alignment on the rear axle, which you can do. So we'll weld it a little bit at a time, and then it'll be ready to assemble and put in the car. So let's get that done. Back in a second. We got the brackets all welded on, and even the panhard bracket welded on and prepped and painted. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. A little zoom in. You can see, looks like the factory made it almost. And yeah, here's your panhard bar bracket. Now that's actually pretty easy to get on. You don't have to measure that in any way. There's a little notch on the underside of it. It's going to be, see if I can flip it over for you guys. If it'll stay there. Kind of notches in here, just rests up against this 4-bar bracket, rests up against there and like that way and on it. And then you just burn it in, and that's your panhard bar bracket that goes from there, you know, all across to the chassis over this side. So yeah, now all I got to do is get it from there up into the back of this thing. So I'm going to put the camera on a tripod and get it in there, and yeah, enjoy. Even empty, it weighs a couple of pounds. So if you've got a buddy who's free to help you do this in your garage, then yeah, I would, I'd grab him. Yeah. Right. Now we'll just kind of line this up as best I can. Yeah, relatively closely. That looks not bad. So yeah, let's get the car down to meet it. Right, so I've got the car already here. We've got the 4-link bars actually in. We'll leave them hanging down a little. We've got the coilover shocks in. They're ready to go in. They have a little spacer that goes on the bolt here. That just puts them the right distance behind the axle housing. Yeah, so I'm going to drop it onto the stands, the housing, and then lower the car down to it and put some bolts in. So let me grab the housing. All right. These are pretty snug in here. I'll take a little urging to get them in. Okay, we'll come down a little further now. Got a wee ways to go to get those top ones in. Now you do have two mounting points you can put them in at the top here, and that has a lot to do with your ride height. If you're going quite low with the ride height of the car, you're probably going to want it in this lower one, and if you're going closer to a stock height, then you'll have it in the top mount, and you really, that's pretty hard to determine until you're she's on the ground with the wheels all done. So one more falling bar to get in. Now the fourth bar, as it goes in, you may have to play around a little bit and adjust these threaded rod ends to get them to line up. Yeah. Obviously we've got to put the nuts on them. Now we can try and get the shocks on. Oh, that's lucky. We dropped it to exactly the right height. Yeah, I don't know how I managed that, but I'll take it. And yeah, essentially that's in. So I'm going to take it back up in the air again. We'll put the panhard bar on. Then we've just got a bunch of nuts and bolts to tighten up. All right, rid of that. All right, I'm back. Now, this one too has an adjustable end on it, which you can just run in and out to get that to line up. Now we're just going to put it in wherever where the rear axle's hanging, like right at this minute. So we're not trying to get it centralised in the car. You really do need wheels on it to achieve that. Because everybody wants the biggest tyre they can possibly get. Quite right. There you go. That might get it. Yep. Turn. There you go. Four-link installed. So we've still got some buttoning down to do as far as bolts and nylocks, make sure everything's tight. But that's how she looks. Obviously now we've got to load the axle, put the pumpkin in, put the half shafts in, put the brakes on, and she will be ready for 600 horse. It's going to be a nice little setup. This is nice when you get your kind of adjustments are pretty close, when you can just slide the bolt through by hand once everything's in. The bar's exactly the right length. All these jam nuts have got to be tightened up. We'll just give them a gentle nip, because we use these adjustments here control your pinion angle, which remember we're trying to get that 2 degrees down. So in the real world, once it's there at right height, then you're looking, you adjust these to get your 2 degrees at right height, and also you adjust both of them at the same time to move the whole wheel backwards and forwards in the wheel arch, so you can get it situated, so it doesn't look like it's too far forward or too far back. And same with the pano bar, you adjust that till you get your tyres nicely centralised between your wheel arches. And yeah, it's a great system. You've got your adjustable shocks here, you can play with that. These are one-way adjustable, so it just adjusts the rebound, which rebounds the expansion rate. So that gives you some adjustability. And the real high dollar ones are double adjustable, but that's kind of you get into the territory of the guys wanting to do autocross and things like that, and they're looking for tenths of a second. But just the rebound adjustment is great for a street car. And yeah, so I am going to have some lunch, and then we'll start assembling this axle. Back in a minute, or about half an hour. Alright, that's the pumpkin and the half shafts in. Now, they've just gone on very temporarily like this. I know that's a bit agricultural, but it's just going to stop that axle coming out, although it was pretty tight going in, but it probably wouldn't come out, but that's just in case, while we wait for the nice big 13-inch brake kit to arrive for it. So that way we can still wheel it in and out if we need to. And yeah, there you go. 4-link in, 9-inch in. If you need, an 8 or 9-inch, just the pumpkin, the axles, the housing, custom width, whatever you need in an 8 or 9-inch Ford, this is the guy to go and see. His stuff is perfect every time. Never a noise out of it, never a failure. I buy a lot of rear ends off this guy, and it's just consistently good. So yeah, I would highly recommend him. Give him a call, tell him you saw his product here, and yeah, we'll go from there. But honestly, that's my Saturday, I think. Got a lot done, and yeah, we'll get the back wheels on this old girl, get her back on the ground, and then we've got this big brute out here is coming in for a little look-see. Believe it or not, that's another Street Side Classics car. It has got a couple of little issues that I'm already aware of, but that's another video. Alright guys, well, take it easy, have a good weekend, have a good day, whatever it is you're doing, whenever you're watching this. But yeah, Heidts.com for that for that forelink, 8 and 9 inch forward rears for the forward rear. And yeah, have a good one guys, take care.